Let's talk about a guy named Dylan Parham. He was a third-round pick, and we're going to start off talking about some stats, some PFF stats in particular. Just sort of, I want to give you guys an idea of who he is, and then we're going to talk about how he played in the first preseason game for the Raiders and why I'm fascinated by him. Listen, part of it is we have one game to talk about for a week, so I'm going to milk that game a little bit, but also I think that this is interesting on top of that, where you see his numbers here, and again, these are PFF grades, and what's fascinating, I think, the most fascinating thing is how he was great in 2020 and then took a step back in 2021. And it feels like that's why he was drafted when he was in the third round, because he wasn't great in 2021. But the reality is, if the 2021 and 2020 season were flipped, there's a very good chance he's getting drafted a lot higher. And I think that's why the Raiders took him as sort of, he has potential type of guy. We're going to start off with this play. So he's playing center here. That's what's happening. It's going to be a one-on-one block with an interior defensive lineman. And these are not easy for centers to be able to pull off. These are very difficult. And it's worth mentioning it's a 4th down and inches. So I'm sure that the Raiders are going to be looking at this play in particular because these are very important plays. Games can be won or lost on plays like this. Right when this play begins, you're going to see him, I think, do a very good job at the beginning of this play, getting that defensive lineman sort of out of position to where if the halfback wants to run in that direction, he should be able to at least pick up the inches he needs for a first down. As you see, it does end up being a first down, not exactly because of Parham, but he still did his job well regardless, and that's what you're hoping for if you're a Raiders fan. You also have something like this, so what's going to happen here is it's going to be a one-on-one matchup, and so it's a difficult situation for a center to deal with. You typically like to have a little bit of help if you're a center, or really be the one helping someone else is typically how it goes, but not here. One-on-one block. How is he going to pull it off? I think at the beginning, relatively well. I mean, again, there is just a size mismatch here. That's part of the situation. Not to say that Parham is like overly small for a center or anything. He's 311 pounds, excuse me. 311 would be very small for a center. But, going up against a big defensive lineman, but I think Parham is still doing his job well. Eventually, the defensive lineman is going to get off the block and try to get over and create a pressure, but I felt like it was long enough into the play where I would still consider that a good block for Parham. To me, I don't look at an offensive lineman and say, never create a pressure. I say, don't create quick pressures. If you give up a pressure 3 seconds, 4 seconds into a play, I'm okay with that. You want to make sure you give your quarterback 2.5 seconds and ideally 3 seconds, and if you can do that, I'm going to count it as a good play. And you also have something like this. I thought that his run blocking was very good, where what you're going to see is he's going to be going up one-on-one against a defensive tackle once again, and watch what happens. Look, as you see, he really does just move that defensive tackle completely out of the way. It didn't matter. The rest of the Jaguars defensive line did a good job at being able to not allow a run to happen, but still, again, we're just evaluating Parham here, and Parham did a good job on that play, I thought. As for some negatives, this is something I saw a decent amount in his preseason tape, and again, relatively small sample size. We're talking about half a game here with Parham. But one of the things that is definitely on film is getting to the second level. You see where he is on the screen and watch what happens. So look, he snaps the ball and then he's going to try to get up and get to that Jaguars player. It's going to end up being a screen pass. That's the way this play works. Parham has to get over and block the linebacker. You have to do that, otherwise this play is not going to work. Parham is not able to get over there, and because of that, the quarterback couldn't make the throw because it was covered up. So you would have, I think, ideally liked for there to be a situation where, Parham was able to go up and make that play. These things are tough, and in a vacuum, one play, whatever, not a big deal, but I saw this a decent amount. Like this one's another example of this where, again, and these were littered with his preseason tape. I don't know if it was a team thing. There's several reasons this could be, but I noticed it with him, and so it's a video about him. I'm going to bring it up. He's going to get up to block a linebacker once again, and watch how right when this play begins, there's not really much contact at the line or anything. It's really just, I don't think he's quite fast enough to get there, unfortunately. Because of that, you're going to see Chad Muma, the linebacker who was, also a rookie, he's able to get over and make the tackle instead of Parham being able to make the block on that play. So that's the one thing I noticed. That's the one negative. But as a whole, I thought the rest was very positive. So how do we feel about all of this? Again, one thing it's preseason, right? That's just something that it goes without saying, but I still feel like I have to say it in every video because it is just preseason. And at the end of the day, we don't know what to make of Dylan Parham. Is he someone who is now going to be a center who should compete for the starting job? I mean, it's not like Andre James, the center for the Raiders, is a star starting center, so I do think that maybe there is some optimism that Parham could potentially compete for the starting job. I think that's possible. I'm not there for practice, so I can't say for certain, but you can certainly make an argument that, he outplayed James in the preseason game. Admittedly, he's going up against backups, not against starters, so that's how that works. But still, it's fascinating that he was able to perform as well as he did. I thought he played very well in his first game. Yes, there was kind of that one issue, but again, that might just be like a scheme thing. That might just be the Jaguars figured out when they were running screen passes and they were able to sort of get a head start that way. I really don't know. What I do know is he played well in one preseason game, and he has some history of success in college. So when you add on those two things, it leads you to believe that there's a chance that this guy can be successful. At the end of the day, we can't jump to the conclusion and say that he will be successful because we haven't seen him in any NFL game, but you could say that with any rookie ever. So to me, I think that this is still promising. This is optimistic. And as much as we want to sit here and say, oh, he's just blocking against, backups out there. Well, the backups out there are way better than the players he's going up against in college, just because that's the nature of football. The, end of the fourth quarter of a preseason game it's basically a college all-star game. That's what you're looking at. It's that good of players. So, I do take this into account, and I think it's impressive. And kind of my main thing I always say about this stuff is I actually think you can take away a good amount of stuff from preseason. I think the biggest issue with preseason isn't the tape you have necessarily, it's the amount of it. It's the lack of a sample size that really creates more of an issue, in my opinion, than actually the fact that you have the fact that the situation itself. But listen, having depth is never a bad thing. I think he can play guard as well if you wanted him to. He's been playing well in center, so the fact that he can be a good center, he can be a good guard, those two things together I think are very good, and I think that that's something that is promising, that at least at the very least, it seems like he can come in and hold his own against good defensive linemen, or at least like NFL ready defensive linemen. So if you're spending a third round pick and that's what you're getting, that's not that bad. That actually, you'll feel okay about that. So that's kind of my thought on Parham and how he played. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.